sometimes it's just been so natural to us, we don't realize that we're, maybe a strong way to say it is we're cursing our future. You can curse your future or you can bless your future. So be careful. I read about a lady that was complaining about everything that went wrong that day. She said, God, why did you let so many bad things happen? Because I am. Right. Now, mine is a different take on it. It is what follows the word I am, I believe you're inviting into your.
Long before Joel Osteen became one of the most recognized pastors in the world, he was just a young man trying to figure out his path. Born in Houston, Texas in 1963, Joel grew up in a home filled with faith. His father, John Osteen, was the founder of Lakewood Church, a humble place that started in an old feed store. Joel was close to his father but never wanted to follow directly in his footsteps. He worked behind the scenes, handling the church's television production and staying out of the spotlight. That's when he met a young woman named Victoria Osteen. She worked at her family's jewelry business and attended Lakewood Church. From the beginning, Joel was drawn to her bright energy and confidence. They shared a deep sense of faith and a belief that God brings people together for a purpose. After 2 years of dating, Joel and Victoria married in April 1987. Their love became a strong partnership built on shared values, laughter, and devotion to God. As the years passed, their family grew with the arrival of their children, Jonathan and Alexandra. Together, the Osteen family represented everything their church stood for: love, unity, and hope. Victoria became not just Joel's wife, but his strongest supporter, helping him believe in himself when he doubted his calling. It was she who encouraged him to preach for the first time after his father's passing in 1999. That single sermon changed everything. The quiet man behind the camera suddenly stepped into his destiny. And he did it with Victoria by his side, smiling and cheering him on. Their story quickly became a modern Christian fairy tale, a reminder that love and faith can turn ordinary lives into extraordinary ones. After Joel took over Lakewood Church, the ministry began to grow in ways few could have imagined. Under his leadership, attendance skyrocketed. By 2005, Lakewood moved into the former Compaq Center in Houston, a massive arena that once hosted NBA games. Every week, over 40,000 people filled its seats, eager to hear Joel's uplifting words and see the couple who symbolized faith in action. Millions more watched online or on television, turning Lakewood into a global household name. Joel's positive approach to faith, focusing on joy, potential, and gratitude rather than fear or guilt, drew people from all backgrounds. His messages felt more like conversations than sermons, and his words offered comfort to those who had lost hope. Victoria's presence added a warm family touch. She often stood beside Joel, her voice calm yet powerful, encouraging people to trust in God's timing. Their teamwork extended beyond the pulpit. Together, they published books, hosted conferences, and appeared on international platforms, from Oprah Winfrey's show to global Christian gatherings. For many, Joel and Victoria weren't just spiritual leaders. They were role models for marriage, love, and faith. Even as fame and fortune grew, they seemed grounded, always crediting God for their success. But fame can be a double-edged sword. With the rise of social media and public attention, the couple began to face criticism too. Questions about their wealth, lifestyle, and preaching style. Yet no matter the storm, they always faced it together. Joel often said, "Don't fight every battle. The answer to criticism is staying faithful." And that's exactly what they did. Life wasn't always easy for the Osteens, even if it looked that way from the outside. Over the years, they faced personal and public challenges that tested their faith and character. In 2008, Victoria faced a lawsuit from an airline flight attendant after an incident on a plane. Although she denied any wrongdoing and was later cleared, the media attention was harsh and relentless. Joel stood by her side through the entire ordeal, showing the same calm strength he often preached about. Then came 2017, when Hurricane Harvey struck Houston. Lakewood Church faced criticism for not opening its doors to flood victims immediately. Joel explained that the church itself had been flooded and unsafe at the time, but public opinion was divided. Yet, once again, the Osteens focused on action over argument, eventually opening their church to help thousands of displaced families and leading major relief efforts across the city. Through every trial, they leaned on faith and on each other. But nothing could have prepared them for the personal pain that would come years later: Victoria's diagnosis. When news began to circulate that Victoria was battling a serious illness, it didn't come through public statements or press releases. It came quietly, from whispers within the church, and close friends who saw Joel's absence from public events. For a couple that had spent most of their adult lives in the public eye, this sudden silence spoke louder than any sermon. Joel's focus shifted entirely to his wife's health, and those who knew them best said he was deeply emotional, yet steadfast. He prays for her every day, one close friend shared. He believes that God's healing is already working, even when things look hard. When the congregation at Lakewood Church learned about Victoria's health struggles, the response was overwhelming. Prayer chains began forming across the country. Members of the church, from volunteers to longtime attendees, gathered to pray for their First Lady. Messages of encouragement poured in from around the world, from Africa, Europe, and Asia. Many people who had never met Victoria personally shared stories of how her teachings had changed their lives. "She taught me to love myself again," one follower wrote online. "Now, I'm praying for her healing with the same faith she helped me find." The church also began organizing special worship nights dedicated to healing and faith. During these gatherings, thousands raised their hands in prayer for Victoria's recovery, filling the vast arena with songs of hope. Even those who once criticized the Osteens found themselves touched by the sincerity of the moment. Pain, after all, is universal, and seeing a woman of faith go through such a trial reminded everyone that no one is above life's struggles. It also highlighted the power of community. The Osteens, who had spent years giving to others, now found thousands giving back, through love, prayer, and compassion. For Joel, this outpouring of support was both humbling and comforting. He once said in a sermon, "When you sow kindness, it comes back to you multiplied." In this season, that truth became vividly real. As Joel spent more time caring for Victoria, his outlook on life began to shift in subtle yet powerful ways. He's always been known for preaching about blessings, opportunity, and the belief that God works all things for good. But in private, those messages took on a deeper meaning. Friends and staff members have noticed that Joel now speaks less about success and more about gratitude. He often says that his wife's illness taught him the value of every ordinary moment. Morning coffee together, family dinners, or simply holding hands during prayer. In one of his most heartfelt recent messages, Joel told his congregation, "Sometimes we pray for God to change the situation, but God uses the situation to change us." Listeners could sense that those words came from personal experience. He also began to emphasize the theme of surrender, trusting God even when the path is painful or unclear. For a man who built a ministry on positivity, this shift toward vulnerability has made his message more real than ever. It shows that faith isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about believing you're not alone even when it's not. Privately, Joel and Victoria have continued to cherish time with their grown children. Jonathan, who shares his father's quiet confidence, has started preaching at Lakewood on occasion, giving hints that the next generation might continue the family's legacy. Alexandra, a talented musician, has written songs inspired by her mother's faith. For Joel, seeing his children carry on their family's purpose has been both comforting and emotional. A reminder that even in seasons of pain, God continues to work in new ways. As 2025 unfolds, there's growing speculation that Joel Osteen might be preparing for a new chapter in life. One that doesn't revolve around weekly sermons or global tours, but around home, family, and quiet faith. Though no official announcement has been made, his actions speak louder than any words. His reduced public appearances, the tone of his latest messages, and his focus on Victoria's health all point to a man who is ready to slow down. But this isn't a farewell to faith. It's a refocusing of it. For Joel, faith has always been about trust. Trusting that God leads us where we're meant to go, even when it means stepping away from the spotlight. Many in the Christian community believe this season will redefine Joel's legacy, not as a preacher of prosperity or a best-selling author, but as a husband who lived his faith through love and sacrifice. His quiet devotion to Victoria shows the world what true ministry looks like, not from a stage, but from a hospital room or a bedside prayer. Whether he eventually returns to the pulpit or passes the torch to his son, his influence will continue to shape millions. The sermons may fade, but the message, one of unconditional faith and love, will live on. As the world watches Joel and Victoria's journey unfold, one thing remains clear: their story isn't about fame, money, or even miracles. It's about love that endures when everything else fades. From the moment they met to the trials they now face, their lives have been a living testimony of what it means to trust God in all seasons. For decades, Pastor Joel Osteen has been known as the smiling face of hope and faith across America. His church in Houston, Texas, Lakewood Church, is the largest in the United States, drawing tens of thousands in person and millions more online every week. He's been the man people look to when life feels dark, offering messages filled with positivity, encouragement, and the belief that faith can overcome anything. Yet behind that bright smile and powerful words, Joel has recently been walking through one of the darkest chapters of his life. It's a time when the preacher who gave comfort to millions suddenly needed comfort himself. His beloved wife, Victoria Osteen, who has stood by his side for over 3 decades, has reportedly been facing a serious illness. This unexpected diagnosis has shaken the Osteen family and the church community deeply. For someone who has always spoken about blessings and strength through trials, Joel now finds himself living those words in the most personal and painful way imaginable. The man known for preaching about God's goodness is now learning how to hold on to that same faith while standing beside the love of his life through sickness and uncertainty. Joel and Victoria Osteen have long been seen as one of the strongest couples in modern Christianity. Together, they turned Lakewood Church from a small local ministry into a global movement. Joel inherited the church after his father, John Osteen, passed away in 1999. At first, Joel didn't even plan to be a pastor. He preferred to work behind the scenes producing his father's TV sermons. But when he finally stepped onto the pulpit, people connected with his calm tone, positive message, and simple storytelling. Victoria stood beside him, not only as his wife but as a co-pastor and motivator. Her warm energy, faith, and practical approach to life helped millions of women relate to her message. Together, they built something extraordinary, a ministry that reached far beyond Houston. Their teamwork wasn't just about religion. It was about showing love, unity, and family values to the world. They became an example of how faith and partnership can change lives. That's why Victoria's recent health battle has struck such a chord. Because the couple everyone looked up to is now facing a painful test that no one expected. For years, Joel Osteen's sermons have centered on the idea that faith can move mountains. He's often said, "You can't control what happens to you, but you can control your response." Now, he's living those very words as his wife's illness has forced him to face a reality that no message or sermon could fully prepare him for. Victoria's diagnosis has been described as serious, though the family has kept most details private. What's clear is that this season has deeply affected Joel, who has been quietly stepping back from certain church activities to focus on his wife's care. For a man used to being in front of millions every Sunday, this has been a difficult transition. But it's also a reminder of something beautiful, that even leaders, preachers, and icons are still human beings who love, fear, and grieve just like everyone else. The same faith Joel preaches from the stage is now what he's holding on to behind closed doors. Friends close to the family say he spends most of his time with Victoria, praying with her, reading the Bible together, and finding strength in small, quiet moments of love. It's a side of Joel Osteen that the public rarely sees, the husband, not the pastor. Joel Osteen's story has always been one of incredible rise and controversy. After taking over Lakewood Church, he transformed it from a local congregation into a media empire. His sermons began airing on television networks around the world, and soon, his books were selling millions of copies. Titles like Your Best Life Now and Become a Better You became international bestsellers, spreading his message of optimism and self-belief. However, this fame also brought criticism. Some accused him of preaching what's known as prosperity gospel, the idea that faith can bring wealth and success. Others criticized him for living in a large mansion or for how Lakewood handled certain public issues, such as during Hurricane Harvey. Yet, no matter what was said about him, Joel always responded with grace. He rarely argued or fought back. Instead, he simply smiled and said he preferred to stay focused on positivity and hope. It's that same quiet strength that he's now relying on as his wife's health struggles test his heart and faith. The man who built a global ministry by telling others to keep smiling is now discovering just how powerful that smile can be when life hurts the most. To the people of Lakewood, Victoria Osteen is not just the pastor's wife, she's the heart of the church. Her gentle confidence and unwavering faith have inspired countless women around the world. She has always been open about her belief that true beauty and strength come from faith and kindness. Victoria co-wrote several books, led women's conferences, and encouraged families to grow stronger together. She wasn't just standing beside Joel on stage, she was leading her own ministry within the church. Her words often focused on love, forgiveness, and gratitude, reminding people that spiritual growth starts at home. That's why her illness feels so heartbreaking to many. It's not just that the